Hello, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of the show that may be back, but is anything but basic. We are joined today, as always, by the wonderful Courtney, and I still happen to be Pastor Don, despite all efforts to the contrary. Hello!
Howdy. Sorry, I forget that this is not just a YouTube show. It is also a podcast, and I can't just respond visually all the time.
Yeah, for those of you listening on the podcast stream, I really cannot overstate how many times you hear a pause in these episodes, and it's just her rolling her eyes at me. That's pretty much all it is. So we got a little bit to cover today for this week's episode, and we're going to do a shorter one, I think, because there's not much in today's verse package. But after this, we're going to go on to record the next passage, which we may even wind up breaking into two episodes because the next one is super, super important. But for today, we have got Abraham and Abimilech making a covenant. This would be Genesis chapter 21, verses 22 on to verse 34, which is the end of the chapter. And so we're going to be reading through this wonderfully boring little political agreement here.
We'll find something to talk about. We always do.
You know, I know we've all got the kind of subtle existential horror itch in the back of our head that, oh God, Abraham's making a covenant with someone that's going to result in an exchange of resources. Oh God, what's he going to do now? But this one's actually pretty boring. So let's go ahead and read the verse first.
Sarah just slides backwards into a bush like Homer Simpson.
Exactly. Now, there's a meme for you. Abraham makes a covenant. Sarah just slides back into the bush. You know, I think I'm actually going to make that one this afternoon. Put it on our Discord.
Please do.
I like it.
Yeah.
So
a meme was born. Okay.
Let's go ahead and read the passage. Courtney, you want to take this one, or do you want me
to? It'll be funny if I slaughter the words. Why the heck not?
Huzzah.
All right. Excuse me. I'm getting over something. At that time, Abimelech with Phicol, is it Phicol?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the commander of his army, said to Abraham, God is with you in all that you do. Now therefore swear to me here by God that you will not deal falsely with me, or with my offspring, or with my posterity, but as I have dealt loyally with you, you will deal with me and with the land where you have resided as an alien. And Abraham said, I swear it. When Abraham complained to Abimelech about a well of water that Abimelech's servants had seized, Abimelech said, I do not know who has done this. You did not tell me, and I have not heard of it until today. So Abraham took sheep and oxen and gave them to Abimelech, and the two men made a covenant. Abraham set apart 7 ewe lambs of the flock, and Abimelech said to Abraham, what is the meaning of these 7 ewe lambs that you have set apart? He said, these 7 ewe lambs you shall accept from my hand, in order that you may be a witness for me that I dug this well. Therefore, that place was called Beersheba, because there both of them swore an oath. When they had made a covenant at Beersheba, Abimelech, with Phicol, the commander of his army, left and returned to the land of the Philistines. Abraham planted a tamarisk tree in Beersheba, and there called on the name of the Lord, the everlasting God. And Abraham resided as an alien many days in the land of the Philistines. Mispronounce that the first time. I'm like, oh, that's not right, but let's just keep going and fix it later.
There we go. All right. So, in general terms, it's a pretty boring political arrangement. Like, this is the sort of normal exchange between a nomadic group and a king that was common in the time.
Yeah, it almost feels like an interesting slice of life of like what kind of stuff Abraham was up to as the leader of his tribe.
But for the sake of giving us something to talk about, I do want to inject a little bit of context into this one, because Abimelech is not a new player in this story. Because we had encountered Abimelech 2 episodes ago when we were at Gerar, and Abraham definitely dealt falsely with him.
Oh.
Remember that?
Interesting.
Yeah. So the whole chunk for verses 22 to 24, where Abimelech takes his military commander and sits down with Abraham and said, God is with you in everything that you do. So you will swear to me by that God that you will not deal falsely with me or my offspring or anyone else in my community ever again, because I've dealt loyally with you. I listened to your God. I did what he said. I gave back your inexplicably hot old wife. Everything is cool. Now you best swear by that almighty and terrifying God that you ain't gonna do that stuff again.
Smart man.
Yeah, like
That is very smart. Like, what's he going to say? No, I'm not going to promise by the God I worship to not be a dick again.
Yeah. And I
when
mean,
I have a proven history of being a dick for no reason.
I get credit where credit is due. This is oddly consistent. Not even oddly. This is like actually consistent with Abimelech as a character in the story. Like from his first introduction back at Gadad, he is consistently aware and attuned to what's going on. He's responsive to God. He makes very, very wise and like sensible decisions with regards to the context and the situation. Like when we read this passage in isolation, because we always read the Bible in isolation, there's no context to be considered here. You know, when we read this in isolation, it seems, all right, well, the local king wants to make a covenant to make sure that he's telling the truth. Like, well, okay, seems like a weird thing, but whatever. But like Abimelech had really, really good reason to want to absolutely mandate through whatever means possible that Abraham wasn't going to try this screwy crap again. So, yeah. And then I love the transition here from verse 24 to 25.
I think I like Abimelech. I think he's like a low-key favorite character so far.
Yeah, like he's like,
why is this happening? And I'm going to deal with this in the cleanest, smartest way I can. Now just none of this
dramatic crap. We're gonna solve the problem and we're gonna move on. Like Abimelech, like I stand me in Abimelech. I got this guy. This is he think how I think. So, but I like the transition from 24 to 25, because it is the most human transition I think I've seen between any two verses in the Bible. So now therefore swear to me by God that you will not deal falsely with me or my offspring or my posterity, but as I have dealt loyally with you, you will deal with me and the land where you've resided as an alien. And Abraham said, I swear it. Transition. When Abraham complained, like, that's so human. Like the next thing is Abraham is immediately complaining.
Well, it didn't say don't complain about anything.
I know, but just the attitude of it. And maybe living in Japan and Japanese culture makes me particularly sensitive to, you know, attitudes and moods and the nonverbals of it. But like, there's a Karen energy to this that just really hits me. You know, so he's complaining about a well of water that Abimelech's servants have seized. And in fairness, you're in the desert, wells of water kind of are important.
Yeah.
Like, really? Really?
No, that does seem that. See that? I mean, context makes it seem like you said, gives it some Karen energy.
Yeah.
But I don't think the actual idea of, hey, this is our well. We dug this well. Your guys took our well. That's not okay. No, that's completely reasonable.
Yeah. And this is one of the weird things when we're talking about Karens, which we do fairly often, is at their root, there's often some twisted seed of reasonability in what they're trying to get across.
I understand what you're saying, but I don't think that's entirely fair here. A well in the desert is literally like a symbolic level of importance.
No, I agree with you there. Like this is a big deal. This actually is, and it's not being twisted all that much. The transition is what I'm noting is.
Yeah, the transition makes it feel like that's supposed to be like some context to it. Like, yeah.
And if we look at our theme of, you know, Abraham basically animal houses his way across the desert for half of the book of Genesis. That transitional context seems reasonable to me.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean
it seems like, oh, what's he up to now?
Like, what is that wacky Abraham up to this verse? You know, before too long, he's gonna like stab his son with a dagger or something. Like he's always up to something.
The narrative here upon analysis is effectively conditioning us to be like, oh, what's Abraham up to now?
Yeah. And
He's
so
up
in
to
a way,
he's got Bart Simpson energy. I know he's
Yeah.
up to something.
in a way, this is kind of like a fake out, a necessary fake out before the next chapter. Oh, what's he doing? Oh, good. It's just a normal political arrangement. Maybe Abraham's calmed himself down. Next version. Hey, Isaac, let's go have some fun.
Oh, see, I knew we'd find stuff to talk about this. It might not be a
There's
long
always
thing. I
stuff.
think we've about exhausted it, but
Yeah, there's
like
not much to this.
this was fun.
Yeah.
And I don't want to skip stuff any more than absolutely necessary. I know we did a skip recently, and like I need to sit and watch the other video. I don't I don't watch the channel much, partly because I don't want to watch tape of myself.
That's fair.
I'm like, no, I haven't. I just. Mm-mm.
But fortunately, the episode you skipped, you pretty much just have to watch me and someone else that you don't really know. So it worked out pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
no, I do need to totally watch that. And you should you all should watch the YouTube show because it's fun. Thank you for
definitely.
watching.
And by the time this one's come out now, by the time this episode's come out, our other series, Unfinished, will have drawn to its conclusion. So that's just one whole chunk that you can watch through start to finish. So this series is going to continue until either we run out of Bible or the heat death of the universe. So, keep tuning in.
Heat death.
I never thought I'd find myself cheering for entropy, but there are moments. So yeah, that pretty much covers it though for this passage. There's not a lot here. He plants a tree and he's like, yay, I called upon God here. There's a well. We've sorted out our political disagreements. Everything's cool and hunky-dory and hey-okay. So I think that's really where we're going to have to leave it for today.
Yeah.
I get the feeling that this was a shorter episode than usual, probably because it was. I feel like this is like a 5-minute episode because our normal episodes are way too long. So I know this is going to wind up being something much more reasonable. But
somewhere in the middle, the truth is found.
Because it's probably a more reasonable length episode, that means that people have actually probably watched all the way to this point, which, spoiler alert, is the end of the episode. So quick, before you close the window, go on Discord, like, share, and subscribe. What she says.
Share, subscribe, do the things, find us on Facebook, yada yada yada.
Yeah, if you're in Japan this Christmas, by the way, we're doing a big old Christmas Eve service. Communion, fellowship, potluck, gonna be lots of fun. Kind of a dinner time, twilight, kid-friendly sort of service. Gonna be really relaxed. So come chill with us.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh.
And if you're not in Japan this Christmas, then, well, keep an eye on the channel. I'll be throwing some stuff up there to at least tide you through. I wish I could send you all loaves of fresh baked bread and whatnot, but the post doesn't like me sending random foodstuffs that will rot before they get there. So sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, small problem that. In any case, do the like, sharing, and subscribing. And please wait patiently for next week when we are going to be talking about Genesis chapter 21, in which Abraham receives the command to sacrifice Isaac, his firstborn son. This is gonna get hairier than a hippie on hair loss medication for some reason, even though he's got long hair anyway, because he's a hippie, and that's just the standard stereotype.
There were so many better jokes to be made.
Because I was making a joke, man. If I could have hair like that, whoo. All right, so you guys take it easy this week. Have a good one. We'll see you in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.